So, you clicked on this video because you want to start making games, but you don't know where to start. In this video, I'll cover everything you need to know, from what engine to use, to game design, to watching devlogs. Let's get started. Disclaimer before we begin, this is only stuff that has worked for me, and I just want to share my knowledge to maybe help some people start to make games. I don't think this will work for everyone. So, before you start, you want to choose your game engine. There are a couple really good common ones like Unity, Godot, and Unreal Engine. There are also a couple ones that are less well known like Construct 3, Click Fusion 2.5, and Game Maker Studio. There are also a couple other platforms to learn making games and programming, like making Minecraft mods, Roblox games, or using Scratch. Now you might be thinking, Foxbite, every video I come to like this doesn't actually help me choose a game engine, it just lists them. That is true, and while I can't openly tell you what game engine to use, I can share some info that can help you decide, though I would recommend you just try engines until you find one you like. I'll start with Godot, because that's what I use. Godot has a lot of helpful and quality of life features and makes controller support really easy. I say that because in prior experience, controller support wasn't easy at all. Godot's 3D isn't limited, but it isn't as well built as other game engines out there. I wouldn't say that Godot's 3D would be something to deter you from the engine, but if you need a bunch of complicated systems and easy AAA graphics, Godot wouldn't be perfect. But what Godot lacks in 3D, it makes up heavily in 2D. I would say making 2D games in Godot is probably easier than doing it in most other engines. Also, Godot has a built-in language called GDScript that is super easy to learn, but if you don't like it or it's too limiting, you can always use C# and I think even C++. Also, Godot will run great on most mediocre laptops/PCs compared to some other engines. Unity is a good engine from what I've heard, and it's the most used 2D and 3D engine. A couple major games made in Unity are Hollow Knight and sequels Silksong, Cuphead, Ori and the Blind Forest, etc. However, Unity requires a moderately high-end laptop/PC to run okay, and it does take forever to download, at least for me, and I never liked having to use a separate program, Visual Studio or something like it, just to script. But I do have to admit, Unity has a massive user count and is a classic game engine, so I'd recommend using it if you like it. Unreal Engine is amazing if you're a fan of C++ and or visual scripting. You also have to have a very solid computer to run it at decent frames. I don't know, I never liked Unreal Engine. Maybe I'm just dumb. It wasn't amazing to me. Though Wally, his content is awesome. You have to check him out right now. Literally, if you haven't seen his stuff, you need to click off of this video, type @me_Wally into the search bar, subscribe, and watch all of his content this very second. Anyways, like I was saying, Unreal Engine doesn't have 2D game support, so it's strictly 3D games, but man, the graphics are stunning. People have made some really cool stuff in Unreal Engine like Poppy Playtime, Minced by Goose Studios, and even Fortnite. Unreal Engine is good, you just have to sacrifice your graphics card, 30 gigs of storage, and occasionally your sanity. Though that last one is true with every engine. Anyways, those are the main three. Here's a quick back-to-back of some different engines. I'll keep this brief so the engine section doesn't go on for 30 minutes. Click Fusion 2.5. Five Nights at Freddy's was made with it. We all know it. A few of us has actually played it. I got stuck on night 6. Wah! And only a couple of us actually know the lore. I don't know too much about Click Team. I never used it. But I do know that it's quite outdated and sometimes it feels like you're fighting the engine, but maybe give it a try, who knows. It also only makes 2D games unless you like the weird 3D plugin that no one uses. No, Five Nights at Freddy's is not 3D, look it up. Game Maker. I've never used Game Maker, but I hear it can make you live forever.
All that work, gone, and before you know it, you're gone. Wait, what? If only he had used Game Maker. Game Maker, make cool games, live forever.
I also hear it has moderate visual scripting, and I have no idea what normal languages it ports, but maybe try it. Scratch, not an engine, but a learning tool, unless you like torturing yourself. You can't actually make commercial games and people can just up and steal your work with the click of a button, but it could be a nice learning tool. Construct 3, ClickTeam on steroids. It's basically ClickTeam but in your browser, monthly payment, and actually up to date. I don't know too much about it, but same deal, only 2D games. Alright, now that you've picked your engine, time to move on to the next step, picking your hairstyle. Okay, no, I was just kidding, but once you open your engine, chances are your mind will go blank and you will question your life choices. Now, we have to actually learn coding and game designing, which is the scary part. I'm not going to teach you how to code because, well, that isn't what kind of a video this is, but I will tell you guys how I learned. For some people, it could be you just download a course, spend 30 minutes a day watching it, maybe fill around a little, and that works for you. But if you're like me, you learn by doing. Now, I do recommend at some point watching an hour-long tutorial on your engine of choice, and it may be mind-numbing, but it can really help you learn. But how I learned was I'd do this. I would choose a game to make, like, say, a platformer. Then I would watch a tutorial series on making a platformer, and after that, I would have a platformer. Then I would say, okay, now I want a grappling hook in my platformer, and then I would look up a separate tutorial on how to make a grappling hook. Then I would want a gun, double jumps, then boss battles, etc. Before you know it, you have absorbed a ton of knowledge about coding and game design, and you have a cool game to show your friends and family. Also keep in mind, that's just what worked for me. For some of you, it may be reading a giant text document, and that helps. Another tip for learning how to code is don't be afraid to plug your code into an AI bot and have it help you figure out what's wrong. As much as I dislike AI, it can be useful for helping you learn or fix issues. What I would recommend is saying your issue, sending the code, then it will tell you how to fix it and or what's going wrong. Then the next time that issue arrives, you know how to deal with it yourself. Another AI related tip, don't have ChatGPT or whatever code for you. I was making my first commercial game, DoofQuest, but because I didn't really know how to code or anything, I'd have AI do it, and now my whole code base is so messy that I can't really continue the project without fighting what I'd already made the whole time. Now that you can code and make basic stuff, you'll want to learn how to make good, fun games. Something I would recommend is prototype your games. If you can make a game that is super fun to play but has squares for enemies and is super janky, that beats a super polished, beautiful game that isn't fun to play. I would say prototype your game. If it's fun, then start making the final version. Also, even if you want your game to be beautiful, try to make less effort sprites before the final stuff. If you're like me, you can't stand placeholder art, so just make some art that isn't painful to look at, but you can also say doesn't represent your final product. For game design, there are a ton of helpful YouTubers with tips on how to design a good game, like Inbound Shovel. Adding camera shakes, clean movements, particles, and stuff like that can make your game feel so much better to play, even if it's a small change. Just remember, you aren't painting, you're designing a video game, and video games are meant to be fun, not visually stunning. My last tip of the video, watch devlogs. It doesn't even have to feel like a chore. There are plenty of hilarious and entertaining YouTubers you can watch, like Danny Dev, Bargy, Wally, Foxbite,
Bruh.
Bad Game Dev, The Dev Dude, John Briggs, Danum Studio, The Unity Guy, Goodgis, Aya, Marcus, and so many more. If you watch devlogs, you'll begin to see how they think and it'll help you think the same way. So, hopefully this video can help you on your journey to making your own games. Just remember, this stuff worked for me and I don't expect it to work for everyone else. I just wanted to share my own personal experience. If you do ever feel inspired to make your own games after watching these videos, let me know in the comments and maybe I'll even check out your stuff. Hope to see you all in the next video. YouTube thinks you'll like this video next, so be sure to try it out. This is the only stuff that has worked for me, and I just want to share my knowledge. I want to die.